Hey guys, just a quick update before we bring you today's episode. Today we have our big announcement for our full 100% carbon fiber CNC machined Roads Untraveled keychains. This one is a half R. This is my personal favorite. Looks really awesome. Again, real carbon fiber. It's not like a fake car interior. It's the real deal. Here we also have the dog tag version one over here. Again, full carbon fiber. It's the same thing. Really high quality. You can head on over to roadsuntraveled.com right now. Pick these up if you want, as well as a bunch of other merch items. Enjoy today's episode. So honestly, I have no idea how we've done this show for this long and have never got into one of the most popular Japanese cars from the previous like 20 years, from the last 20 years. Nissan 350Z, it's got a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated VQ V6. This one is putting out about 270 horsepower at the wheels and around 260 foot-pounds of torque. Respectable numbers, still NA, it's nothing crazy twin turbo or anything, and I'm glad that I can get into a really well-sorted car like this. The owner, Anthony, he's got his own YouTube channel, you should check it out, and he has sorted this car handling first. Like, it is properly dialed in, it's got a bunch of electronic features, which he will tell you about, but we're gonna take it for a little shakedown, go for a quick drive. I'm very excited. It's funny because the 350Z, basically how I remember this car, is from Need for Speed Underground 2. And that sounds hilarious, but that was right around the time, you know, early to mid 2000s when that game came out, and this was like the Halo car. This was the rebirth of Z, and this was pretty much the top tier car in that game. The VQ engine, these V6s are so distinguishable from the factory. Like when you hear a VQ V6 coming down the road, you know it's either a G35 or a 350Z or a 370 or like one of those kind of family of cars. It's so noticeable and you can just pinpoint it right away. This was from a time where manufacturers weren't yet putting so much research and development into fuel economy and, you know, adding turbos and stuff. So what you get is a straight up just NA 3.5 V6, very simple from what I hear, you know, fairly reliable. I have heard that some of these do like to blow up, but 7,000. But so far, I think this has been fairly straightforward for Anthony for what he wants to make it for, right?
My name's Anthony. I'm also known as AnthonyJ350 on YouTube, and this is my 2006 350Z. It's funny, the car was bone stock when I got it, but it had the ugliest rims on it with the offset was set in so much that it actually made the car look worse than stock. The way I built this car a little bit different. Typically, I don't buy wheels right off the bat or if ever, because I find the factory wheels do drive better. But this case, I had to get the car to look better because we were going to bring it to smaller shows and things like that. So wheels were on top of the order. Doing the electronics obviously was the first thing, and doing supporting mods as well for the engine. After year 2, when we got the electronics down, because that's what I do for work, then we said, okay, let's add more power to it. Let's do some bolt-ons to the car and let's get it tuned to make the car work properly. So I wanted the car to look and feel and work like it would from Nissan if I were the one to design it. I wanted to build a GT car mainly because I see myself driving this car long distances, and I didn't want to have fatigue with listening to exhaust drones. So we're at the first stage of trying to build an exhaust system that's reasonable. We're probably into the exhaust system for just around 800 bucks roughly, which is pretty cheap in my books considering it's all stainless. It's because right now for this video it has test pipes on it, the rasp is quite high. So I think for the next stage what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a Motordyne Y pipe that's better engineered and has a resonator and has a switchable, I can switch out the catalytic converter if I want, to be a little bit more friendly to the environment. So I think that was going to be the final iteration of the car. But the exhaust I wanted to be simple, look factory, flow really well. So I looked at parts that would either up the diameter or had smoother bends on it. Everything just had to look like it would flow better.
The ride height's a little bit higher than stock actually because of those wheels and tires, but Anthony has done wonders to the suspension work and really tweaking the suspension dynamics to actually make it perform. You know, changing one thing at a time was kind of his whole thing, because the minute you go ahead and say you just take a stock car and you shove like 10, 20 parts, different suspension parts especially on it, then you'll be like, okay, well, what changed what and what had what effect on the handling characteristics and capabilities of the car. So if you go kind of one part at a time, then you can actually feel like, okay, I did the sway bars, now it kind of dialed out maybe a little bit of the understeer or whatnot, and go from there. So in that way, I think Anthony's done a great job in dialing in the suspension and whatnot, and car seems to perform very well. It doesn't feel nearly as big as I thought it would, to be completely honest. He's got this awesome gritty shifter in here, super short and really notchy, like it's super tight, really dialed in. Anthony spent the time to dial in the car and not go for crazy power first. I think 270 horsepower at the wheels is a great number for this car if you're going to be driving, you know, on the street as a civilian, but at the same time, when you take it out here, plenty of power, just absolutely plenty of power. Amount of money, and the interior feels so unique. It's kind of hilarious. It's got like the kind of toy looking dash and everything. It's got the toy looking handles. I don't even know what toy looking means, but it's not normal. Like it's not even normal for Nissan, other than the actual numbers and the gauges itself. Like the gauge cluster is a little bit shouty, let's put it that way, and it gives you the feeling of like, oh yeah, this is like a motorsports car, right? Feels really good. It feels very planted. When you're shifting, it's kind of got a strange sensation. It almost feels like it has like too heavy of a flywheel or something. When you're shifting and you let off the gas, it kind of takes a second for the revs to actually like fall back down and meet the engine speed of the next gear, right? So it takes a little bit to get used to. Same with upshifting, you give it a little bit of gas and then you can match the revs. It's fine, it works. It's just, it's not a NA Miata, or it's not an S2000, or it's not an FRS where you can just get in and be blipping off downshifts like crazy. It definitely takes a second to get used to. The clutch feel is great though, honestly. The pedal travel's great. Pedal position is fantastic. And other than being a little bit high up, seating position's good too.
So the big thing for me in year 2 of the car was getting how I interact with the car down. So these are modifications that we can't quantify with horsepower or ability to corner or brake. So what we did was we focused on parts like stainless steel braided lines, making sure that the car will brake good in the heat. And we also did that onto the clutch line as well, because these cars are notorious for having a mushy clutch feel, especially in the heat. And the other thing was the short shifter. I did a lot of research trying to find a good value short shifter I got from Torque Solution. It's a one-piece CNC machine piece, and the bearing inside, it's got ball bearings, but it's a solid bearing as opposed to nylon. And that's what gives the shifter that tight feel. And these are things that are important to me because, like, as much as I like my wheels, I can't see my wheels unless I'm outside the car. When I watch Marcus drive away, I'm like, oh, car looks pretty good. I never get to see that. So for me, the things that I value the most are how the car feels, and changing out those few parts made my driving satisfaction go up pretty high. Everyone thinks that the subsystems are heavy. That was the main objection. Everyone thinks I'm going to put 2 big 12s in a big heavy box and I'm going to weigh the car down like crazy. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to get this car and I'm going to gear it for my industry to show people a different way to do it. So the first thing was I only ran 1 amp. Keep it simple, keep it light. 1 5-channel amp on the back right-hand corner where the glove box is. You know, try to like put the weight in areas where no one sits. Then I built a subsystem where the biggest objection I always got was I don't want to lose my spare. So I'm like, okay, I'll build the sub into the spare. That spare's still in there. You can take it all out if you really want to. We're updating the car to have what all the new modern cars have as well. So if you got into this car, you don't feel like you're missing out. So the big thing now for people is connecting their phone to all their electronics in the vehicle. So what we've done is standard, yes, you can do Bluetooth hands-free calling with the head unit. You can stream music, that's pretty standard. The cool thing though I have a Viper system. It's the Viper Smart Start, which allows me to lock and unlock the car. I can open the trunk, I can roll the windows up or down, and I can remote start the car all through my phone. The biggest thing is I wanted GPS tracking on the car just in case. You never know. It is cool to have, but you know, if I'm on vacation, if I forgot something in my car and someone doesn't know where the keys are, I can unlock the car from another country. As long as this car's in cell phone reception and I have cell reception or data, I can control the car, which I think is pretty cool.
$4,000 RPM. Honestly, most of the torque and power is above 5,000 RPM. You've pretty much really got to wind this out. Anything below like 35, you're not really getting much. This car's not the lightest. Nissan cars have never been the lightest. That's not what Nissan does. They don't do lightweight. Let's just be completely honest with ourselves here. However, with an NA motor, it feels like they paired this engine and this chassis perfectly. And the way Anthony's modified it especially, it really gives the car a, you know, handling before power. The power's not outweighing the handling of this car whatsoever, and it's not going to anytime soon. This engine's really fun though. I mean, you can really play with it. Honestly, the shifter feel. The shifter feel is some of the best. It's really heavy. It feels like it's just drowning in molasses over here, but in the best way possible. Like it's got just enough give, but it's really smooth at the same time. There we go. Steering is really impressive. Honestly, the steering weight is perfect. It's nice and heavy. I mean, I haven't experienced any understeer yet. The car feels extremely balanced. The front end is planted. The back end is fairly planted. It's not lacking power. If that's what you're wondering, it's not lacking power. What do you guys think? I mean, honestly, I think it's hilarious that when I think of the 350Z, the first thing that comes to my mind is Need for Speed Underground 2. Maybe that just says something about how old I am, or how young I am rather, and the video games I grew up with. But the opening scene in that video game, and then when you come into like the airport and that character gives you her 350Z and you're like, oh my God, and then you drive it for a little bit and you get like a little taste of like the kind of the top tier cars in that game. And then you have to go and choose between like a Honda Civic and a 240, and those are kind of like the lower tier. And this was looked up to be like the higher tier car, and now you look at the prices and you're gonna pay more for a clean 240 than you are for a clean 350Z. It's hilarious, and you know, that really speaks volumes to how far just lightweight goes. Anyways, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video and Anthony's build. I think he's done a great job. Thank you so much, Anthony, for letting me drive your car. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun. If you guys want to check out Anthony's channel, the link is in the description. Plenty of 350Z videos and other content up there as well. He's constantly putting out stuff. And yeah, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook. We've got snapbacks. See you guys next time.